I didn't plan for any of this to happen. The whole thing started with one of the most humiliating moments of my life. There was this girl I liked, pretty, smart, the kind of person everyone in class seemed to notice the second she walked into the room. I thought maybe I had a chance with her, perhaps if I just built up the courage and said what I felt, she would at least take me seriously. But when I finally told her, in front of a couple of her friends, she laughed. Not a soft laugh. A loud, sharp laugh that cut right through me. She didn't just reject me, she made me feel small, like I was some joke. And that moment, it burned into me. I remember walking away pretending I didn't care, but inside I felt crushed, angry, and honestly embarrassed. But here's the part one still don't understand. After that rejection, after that embarrassing scene, something shifted. I did one or two things, I didn't even think they were that big of a deal, and suddenly, everything changed. Girls who had never spoken to me before started looking my way. They started approaching me, starting conversations, asking me things they would never have asked before. It was like overnight, I had gone from invisible to someone everyone wanted a piece of. And the strange part? It didn't feel random. It felt like they wanted me to notice, like there was some hidden reason behind all of it. That's what I'm about to explain. The story of how one rejection turned into something I never saw coming, something that left me questioning every smile, every word, every sudden bit of attention I got. The day after she rejected me, I kept my head down. I didn't want to face anyone, especially since I knew people had seen what happened. You know how campus gossip works, things spread faster than wildfire. By the time I got to class, I could already feel the stares. People whispering, some of them laughing under their breath. And her? She sat there like nothing had happened, laughing with her friends as if she hadn't just torn me down the day before. I wanted to disappear. But something in me snapped that day. I remember sitting in the back of the lecture hall, my crutches leaning against the chair, thinking, I can't let this be the way people see me. So I made a decision. Instead of hiding, I was going to change the way I carried myself. That was the first thing I did, even if I didn't realize it at the time. I stopped trying to prove myself to people. I stopped chasing anyone's approval. After class, instead of walking out quietly like I usually did, I got up, grabbed my bag, and walked right past her and her group without even looking in their direction. It wasn't forced, I didn't care anymore. At least that's what I told myself. And here's the crazy part. I caught her looking at me. Not smiling, not talking, just staring. Like she didn't expect me to be that calm. That night, I posted something simple online, just a picture of me with some friends, nothing special. But I wrote a caption that wasn't my usual self-deprecating nonsense. It was confident, almost blunt. I didn't think anyone would even notice. By the next morning, the likes were climbing faster than usual. And not just from my friends. Girls I had barely spoken to were dropping comments, laughing at things I said, even demanding me little jokes. I thought it was just a coincidence. But then later that week, something happened that made me realize it wasn't a coincidence at all. By Friday, it was impossible not to notice the change. I walked into the cafeteria, and instead of the usual silence where no one even bothered to look at me, I felt eyes tracking me from the moment I stepped through the door. Girls who never spoke to me before suddenly moved over, like they were making space for me to sit. Even the girl who had rejected me, the one who made me look like a fool, was quieter than usual, watching me from across the room while pretending not to. I didn't sit with her. I chose a table by myself, but I wasn't alone for long. Two girls from another department, people I had only ever seen in passing, came over with their trays and sat right across from me. No hesitation. They didn't even ask if the seats were taken. One of them leaned forward, smiled, and said, "You've been acting different this week." That sentence stuck in my head. Acting differently. I hadn't changed who I was, I had just stopped caring what they thought. But apparently that was enough to flip everything upside down. They kept asking me questions. Where I lived, what kind of music I listened to, and whether I had a girlfriend. The way they looked at me wasn't just curiosity. It was like they wanted me to prove something. Like they were waiting for me to slip up. After that, things only got stranger. I started noticing little things. Girls I didn't know would accidentally bump into me in the hallway. A group of them laughed a little too loudly whenever I walked by, like they were performing for me. And then there were the messages. DMs coming late at night from people who had ignored me for months. "Hey, you up? What are you doing tomorrow? You should hang with us." It felt good at first. I mean, after being invisible for so long, who wouldn't enjoy suddenly being noticed? But deep down, it also made me uneasy. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel real. And I couldn't shake the thought that all of this sudden attention wasn't about me. It was about something else. Something I didn't understand yet. By next week, it had gotten to a point where I couldn't even walk across campus without something strange happening. I'd be on my crutches, heading to class, and a girl would suddenly appear at my side offering to carry my books. Another time, when I was in the library trying to focus, two girls I barely knew sat down right across from me and whispered just loud enough so I could hear them. Stuff like, "I heard he's not what he seems," or "Don't make it too obvious." I pretended to read, but every word burned into my mind. Even the lecturers seemed to notice. During roll call, one of my professors paused on my name, looked at me a little too long and smirked before moving on. It was subtle, but it felt like everyone was in on something I wasn't. The weirdest part came one evening when I was heading back to the hostel. Out of nowhere, the same girl who had rejected me before showed up. She stopped me, arms folded, eyes locked on mine. "You think you're special now?" she asked. Her tone wasn't playful, it wasn't mocking. It was sharp, like she was warning me. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there. Then she stepped closer and said, "Just remember, not every girl who wants your attention actually wants you." Those words hit harder than the rejection itself. Because by then I had already noticed it too. The looks, the stares, the whispers, they weren't normal. It wasn't just about attraction. It was like they were trying to pull me into something I didn't ask for, something I wasn't ready to understand. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages, but instead of excitement, I felt dread. I didn't know what was happening or why, but I knew one thing. This wasn't about me being different. This was about me being targeted. I woke up the next morning feeling drained. It wasn't the kind of tiredness you get from lack of sleep. It was that heavy, uneasy feeling like you're being watched even when you're alone. My phone was still buzzing with notifications, likes, comments, DMs, but I didn't open a single one. I just stared at the screen, wondering how things had flipped so quickly. One rejection, and suddenly I was the center of attention. It didn't add up. When I got to class that day, it was like walking into a stage play. People shifted in their seats when I entered, whispering behind their hands. A girl who'd never spoken to me before smiled and patted the seat next to her. Her friend giggled as if they were sharing an inside joke. Even the girl who rejected me was there, her expression unreadable, but her eyes locked on me like she was trying to figure me out. After class, I tried to slip out unnoticed, but three girls intercepted me near the stairwell. They weren't from my department, but they somehow knew my name. One of them smiled and said, "You're hard to find these days." Another added, "We've been waiting for you." That sent a chill down my spine. Waiting for me? For what? I tried to laugh it off, but they kept walking with me, matching my pace and asking me questions that felt more like tests. "Do you believe in fate? Do you think people can change overnight? Do you think you deserve what's happening to you?" It didn't feel like flirting anymore. It felt like a setup. Like they were drawing me into something on purpose. When I finally broke away and reached my hostel room, I locked the door and just sat there, staring at my crutches leaning against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. That's when my phone buzzed again, this time not a DM or a like. It was a voice note from an unknown number. I hesitated, then played it. A girl's voice whispered, "Stop playing their game. Before it's too late." And then it cut off. No name, no explanation. Just silence. I sat there frozen, staring at my phone like it had just turned into a weapon. The voice note replayed in my head over and over, "Stop playing their game. Before it's too late." What game? I scrolled back to the number. It wasn't saved, just a string of digits I didn't recognize. I tried calling it back, but it went straight to voicemail. My stomach twisted. The next day things only got stranger. When I stepped out of the hostel, a group of girls was waiting by the gate. They smiled in unison like they had rehearsed it. One of them, the same girl who had stopped me near the stairwell, said, "We've been looking for you." Her tone was sweet, but her eyes, they seemed to say she already owned me. The whispers on campus had grown louder as well. Everywhere I went, I caught fragments of conversations. "That's him. The one she rejected. Now he's chosen." Chosen? Chosen for what? By afternoon I couldn't take it anymore. I skipped the rest of my classes and returned to my room, hoping to find answers online. But when I opened Instagram, it was worse. My face was everywhere. Screenshots, reposts, stories tagging me with captions like, "He doesn't even know," and "It's starting." That's when I realized it wasn't random. This wasn't popularity. This wasn't admiration. It was something coordinated. Something planned. I grabbed my phone again, scrolling through the sea of messages until one caught my eye. It wasn't like the others. It was a DM from another anonymous account. The profile had no picture, no posts. Just one message. "If you want the truth, meet me at the old library tonight. Come alone." My chest tightened. Every instinct told me not to go. But a part of me knew, I wouldn't sleep until I found out what was really happening. so I typed back one word, okay. The campus felt like a ghost town by the time I made my way to the old library. The building had been closed for years, a relic from before the school renovated everything. Its windows were cracked and the heavy doors creaked like they were warning me to turn back. I kept my hood up, glancing over my shoulder with every step. My phone's flashlight barely cut through the shadows. Inside, the air was heavy, dusty, like it had been holding its breath for decades. My footsteps echoed off the marble floor. The dim moonlight coming through the broken windows painted strange shapes on the walls. And then, a voice. You actually came. I froze. Out of the darkness, a figure stepped forward, small, hooded, face hidden. But her voice, it was unmistakable. It was the same girl who had first whispered to me outside class, the one who had been watching me. You don't understand what you've stepped into, she said quietly. They've been waiting for someone like you. That rejection wasn't an accident. It was a test. A test for what? My voice cracked. She looked around nervously before pulling back her hood. My heart dropped. It wasn't just her face had changed. Her eyes glimmered unnaturally in the dark, and her smile wasn't human anymore. It's called the selection, she whispered. You're not popular. You're marked. I stumbled backward. Marked for what? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer, her movements jerky, almost unnatural. You're running out of time. If you don't play their game, you won't leave this campus. And just like that, the shadows behind her began to move, like other people were hidden there, watching. The shadows in the back of the library stretched, like they weren't just shadows at all. My chest tightened. Shapes emerged, tall figures in dark clothing, their faces hidden behind blank white masks. The girl leaned close, her whisper cutting through the silence like a knife. They've been watching every step you take. Every rejection, every rumor, every glance, all of it was planned. My throat went dry. Planned? By who? She tilted her head toward the masked figures. By them. The council. The figures stepped closer in perfect unison. No sound. No footsteps. Just movement. You were never rejected, she said, her voice trembling now. They chose you. That girl who turned you down? She was only part of it. They needed to see how you'd react, to see if you'd break, or if you'd rise. The tallest masked figure finally spoke, his voice low and distorted. Every campus has one. The one who will be tested. And now, it's your turn. I shook my head. I didn't ask for this. I don't want this. The girl's eyes softened, almost pleading. It doesn't matter what you want. Once you're chosen, there's no way out. The council raised its hands in eerie synchronization. The temperature in the room dropped instantly. My phone flickered and died. The tallest figure's mask tilted as he pointed directly at me. Welcome to the selection. The doors behind me slammed shut. The masked council spread out in a circle, their movements sharp and deliberate, as if rehearsed 1,000 times. The air pressed heavily on my chest and I realized the girl beside me was trembling just as much as I was. The tallest figure extended a hand toward me. In his palm appeared a small black box no bigger than my fist. He placed it on the table in front of me, the echo of its weight bouncing across the silent library. Open it, he ordered. My fingers shook as I lifted the lid. Inside was a single, silver key, long, ancient-looking, with strange engravings carved along its edge. But what chilled me most wasn't the key, it was the note beneath it. In jagged, handwritten letters it read, "One door leads to freedom. The other leads to silence forever." I looked up. At the far end of the library, two massive doors now stood where there had been only bookshelves a moment ago. One was carved from black wood, burned and cracked, humming with faint heat. The other was pure white, glowing faintly as if it were alive. The council spoke in unison, their voices vibrating in my bones. Choose. The girl grabbed my arm. Don't. That's how they get you. It's never about the doors, it's about the choice itself. Once you choose, they'll know your weakness. I swallowed hard, my heart hammering so loudly I thought it would burst. My mind screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The tallest masked figure tilted his head, his voice deeper than before. Tick-tock. The lights above flickered violently. A clock appeared on the wall, its second hand moving twice as fast as usual. I had 60 seconds to decide. The clock's tick-tock hammered inside my skull, each second louder than the last. I stared at the black door. It radiated heat almost as if it were breathing. The white door pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Both of them seemed alive, waiting. My hands trembled as I held the silver key. The girl clung to my sleeve, whispering frantically, Don't do it. They want you to rush. They want you to choose wrong. Please, listen to me. But the council closed in, their circle tightening. Their masks gleamed under the flickering lights. The tallest one leaned forward, his voice echoing like a growl. 30 seconds. The girl's grip on me tightened. My chest burned. I thought about my entire life. The failures, the regrets, the nights when I felt invisible. And for some reason, something inside me snapped. I yanked my arm free, shoved the key into the lock of the white door and twisted. Click. The door swung open slowly with a hiss. A blinding light spilled out, washing over my face. For a moment I thought I'd won, that I had chosen freedom. But then I heard it. Whispers. They slithered from the light, curling around me, wrapping into my ears, seeping straight into my head. They weren't words. They were screams, thousands of voices wailing at once, clawing inside my skull. The girl screamed, "No. You chose wrong." The council began laughing, not in unison but chaotically, each laugh overlapping like a broken record. The tallest figure leaned close to my ear and whispered the first clear words I could understand from any of them. "Freedom is just another cage." The light swallowed everything. And in that last second before I was pulled inside, I saw the girl's face. She wasn't trying to stop me anymore. She was smiling. If you enjoyed this, please share, subscribe and turn on your notifications.